Hello beautiful people, this video is about how to avoid project management failure. When you're thinking about avoiding project management failure and you're thinking about avoiding project failure, one of the things I always encourage people to look to is structure. We're going to talk about the structure for setting yourself up for success in this video. Hi, my name is Jennifer Kenny. I'm the best-selling author of The Innovation Mindset and the award-winning book 100% Capacity. I work with Fortune 500 companies working in complex technical environments, and I show leaders how to achieve project success, not just on paper, but through measurable business results. One of the things that we fail to do when we launch into a project, and I've been on the failure side of this as well as the success side of this, is because it takes so much energy, effort, work, and so many conversations and so many presentations and so much analysis to actually fund a project within most of our organizations. By the time we get the funding approval, we are pretty much done with the socialization. We're pretty much done with educating people. We're kind of a bit burnt out on it. One of the things that I have found is very valuable in terms of setting ourselves up for long-term success is to recognize that when you get project approval, that's actually the beginning of the project. That's not a whole phase into the project, even though it might feel like it and might look like it. So let me give you an example. I've written a couple of books, and when you've written your book, you get to the finish line on your book, you hand the manuscript in, you've done all of the edits, they sign off on it, you've signed off on the graphics. It's taken you however many years it is to get to this point, 1, 3, 5, depending on how long it's taken you to germinate the idea. And by the time you sign off on the book and you wait for it to go into production and printing, you're done. But in that time, now you have to go and step up an entire new project, which is get the book out there, market the books, talk about the book, speak about the book, see how people respond to the book, get reviews for the book, get help to promote the book. And that's an entire other project. So you've now gone through a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 year process to get the book done, and now you're having to regroup and step up the whole process, a whole new process, to be able to deliver on the potential of the book. Because when you have the book, all you have is a potential. If you look at your funding for a project as being very similar, when you have funding for a project, all you have is the potential. You don't actually have any level of success other than somebody believes in you and they think that you can make this thing successful. So when you think about avoiding project management failure, go into a project knowing that once you have the budget, that's just the beginning. It's a really hard thing to swallow, and it took me a long time to kind of accept it and come to terms with it when I wrote my first book. And then by the time I got to the second one, I'm like, okay, I'm only just starting now. Now I've got a huge whole other process to go through. So as you get funding for your project, take a break, get the team to take a break. It seems like a crazy thing to do because by the time you've gotten funding for your project, the deadline's already beginning to loom and you're in a little bit of panic mode because now someone believes in you, someone's giving you a bunch of money, someone who's given you a bunch of resources, there's a bunch of people looking to you to be able to make sure the project is successful. You have a looming deadline and you're going to take a break, take a breather and regroup and really think about how this project is going to be executed with your team and for your customers. Really encourage you to do that. Just take a beat, take a breather. It might be a long weekend, it might be a couple of days, but just get people to start thinking in terms of the value they're going to bring to customers, not how they're going to execute on the project necessarily, and how they're going to draw down on the budget and how they're going to allocate their resources, which is all the stuff that we get all excited and wrapped up in, and we miss the most important thing, which is what exactly is success? What is definition of done? And how do your customers consider what you're bringing to the table to be successful when it finally is done? So many times we describe done as time, budget, and resources. That's your basics, that's your fundamentals, that's your foundational. You're looking to do something much more sophisticated in here. You're looking to build a long-term relationship with your customers that may last for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, depending on the size of the project and the size of the initiative. If you build those relationships now, they will become the foundation for the success in your project.
project?
When people sign off on budget, particularly at the executive level, particularly if it's a very significant budget and it's a fair chunk of the company's revenue or the company's investment incomes, then they consider that to be done too. They're doing what you did. They're going, yay, we get a signed budget now, let them off and go do their thing. That's when the work is beginning. That's when you have to come back to the people who signed off on your budget and begin to start educating them on being customers for your success. One of the things that I have recognized over the years in terms of running projects is my own failure to be able to fully engage my customers in a way that meant that they were as committed to my success as I was. So one of the ways that I found to work with that over the years, and eventually you learn if you try enough, is that I had steering committees, because steering committees were what were considered kind of the norm and acceptable. So I had a group of people, I called them my steering committee. What I had 8 customers for big investment projects that we were doing. Those customers at different times appointed one person amongst themselves to be the person who was going to declare success for a project that we were working on. And what I did then was I positioned myself to be able to engage directly with that one individual while also engaging with the rest of the team, because we'd have regular meetings and we'd assess whether or not what we were delivering was valuable for all of them. But in the end of the day, my primary customer was the one who was ultimately responsible for making sure that everyone else was in alignment with him or her. And so what we did was we trained them how to be effective customers for us. And we put ourselves in a position where we increased our chances of success because we were building this long-term relationship, knowing that yes, we got in budget, and yes, they were going to be yes, they were our customers, but were they going to be satisfied? Did they know what it meant for them? And was the project working as much as we could make it work in phases that would give them incremental understanding of where the value was going to be contributed? The other thing is that when we get locked in on a budget and we get locked in on resources and we get locked in on what we've historically called requirements, and I encourage you to start thinking about them differently too, is we then tend to avoid change. Like, change is a bad thing. Change is actually a good thing. Change is going to continue happening. You might as well accept it. And if you accept it and you embrace it and you recognize it's going to keep happening, then what you're doing is you're not actively going out and pursuing scope changes, but what you are doing is you are recognizing they're going to happen. You have a process for them. You have a method for them. You have a negotiation that you have every single time one of them comes up. You have an understanding with your customers that if you have significant changes in scope, it's going to result in a change in costs. It's going to result in a change in time. It might result in a cutting back in other areas of the project. We assume that our customers know how to be able to engage in that environment. Let me tell you, they don't. We have to train them how to be able to have those conversations with us, and we need a practice and a process for doing that. McKinsey has reported that 45% of failures stem from unmanaged change. Change is an inevitable part of life. If you work in a dynamic, complex organization, that organization is constantly changing. Your customers are going to change over the course of the project. They're going to grow and mature, or they're going to be replaced with somebody else. So you're working in this dynamic environment, embracing that, understanding that, and having practices and processes in place for managing that, not as something that you're looking to push against or resist, but something that you recognize as an inevitable part of being alive and running projects in major corporations, then your ability to be able to deliver on the success of your project increases as well. Many projects, particularly highly complex ones, resort to RACIC charts. And the roles and responsibilities that get assigned in those projects are assigned. The problem with that is it gives us an idea of who's who, and I'm not suggesting that we eliminate it altogether. It does give us a sense of kind of who's roughly responsible for stuff. But if we don't dig in beneath that and actually look at who are the individuals by name who carry that concern and carry that awareness and bring it forward at all of the meetings and all of the projects that they are, all the sub-projects that they are responsible for, and they continue to refine that and listen for it and pay attention to it, that definition of success, that definition of done, that definition of satisfaction needs to be something that's alive inside a project. It can't simply be something that is assigned on a RACIC chart. I was talking to a very senior project leader a couple of months ago, and they said, look, our RASICs can't keep up with how fast the project is changing, and we recognize that that's happening, but we don't know what to do next in terms of how we help people step into a different level and different kind of leadership. One of the ways that I found very effective for dealing with incredibly dynamic environments is to recognize that your most dynamic element on any project, it's not your project plan, it's not the technology that supports you, it's the individuals inside your project. If they are given the right tools and the right support and an understanding of the right practices, and they can move from input, process, output to understanding and seeing themselves as customers and performers in a dynamic network of commitments. If we can help them operate in that environment, what we're doing is we're building agility from the foundation up on every single project that we do. And we use the RASIC as a touch point, as guidance, but we don't use it as a documentation of who is really the customer and who is really responsible for the success of different elements and different aspects of the project. So as you start thinking about how you set your project up for success, I have a white paper that I think will be very valuable in supporting you in doing that. I hope it is. Let me know. It is called Execution by Design. It's, I think, about 8 pages. It's a white paper. It's available on my website, which is www.jenniferkenny.com. It's under free resources. Drop in there, have a look at it, read it. It reinforces a lot of what I said in this video, and hopefully it will support you as you pursue your goal of avoiding project management failure and making your project successful. As you do it, I wish you all the luck in the world, and I hope that these videos support you in that process. Take care.